Hi.
Hi, everyone. Welcome tonight. We're here with Rachel Fleischman. She is a very talented dance instructor as well as a psychotherapist. She bridges both worlds of helping people find safe spaces and really finding inner freedom and release through that. She'll speak more about what she does and the way she does it. But welcome, Rachel. Glad to have you on tonight.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm really excited that we could make this happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And where are you dialing in from, Rachel?
San Francisco,
Oh,
foggy,
go.
humid, beautiful San Francisco. Yes. Yes.
Beautiful. Could you tell us a little more about this workshop that you're leading coming up?
Yeah, I'm really honored to be teaching at Art of Living. I've known of you folks for years and I've been following some of your teachers, and I've been teaching Dancer Bliss for about 18 years in different ways. And it's a fabulous blend of inspired movement. I'm a psychotherapist. I'm also an expressive arts therapist. So we actually move our bodies and create art. So we're cycling through movement, and I'll explain more about that later, drawing and writing. So usually I have one end of my room is a little bit like a kid's fun playgrounds. There's crayons and pastels and paper and stickers and all these things, and we just make fun art with absolutely no intention of being great artists. But what I love about the workshop so much is that it's so body positive and it's so age positive that we're not about being dancers. We're about getting out of our heads and into our feet. And I've been really lucky to study with Anna Halprin, who's a beautiful pioneer. I think she's 95 now, still in Marin County. I did postgraduate work with her. And years ago, of course, with Gabrielle Roth, who's beloved in the Five Rhythms community. But my heart really leans into psychology and neuropsychology and understanding that when we move our bodies, things change, our wiring changes. It's no secret for sure that I've had my own with depression and anxiety, and they both kind of are two sides of the same coin. And in the different times when I've had these maladies, these difficulties, movement, using the body, and using psychotherapy and mindfulness have really helped. So that's the long-winded answer to your question. Yeah.
And just to dig into a couple of those terms, you said age positive and body positive. Could
Yeah,
you
I'm kind of
describe
saying
those?
age positive because I live in San Francisco where most people are under 30. So I need to just let the baby boomers know you're my people. I need to let the elders know you're my people. And I need to, let, the millennials know you actually are my people too. I love seeing all bodies dance. Body positive is maybe it's a little bit of a buzzword right now, but I speak to all bodies, size and shape and so on. I've been incredibly fortunate to work with people of size, really bigger people who found the body that they'd been hiding beneath and have done some shifting of their body through the dance. So it's really wonderful for folks who struggle with body image. And I'm not a tiny person, so I think that my students appreciate seeing a dancer who is a real looking human as well. Yeah.
And when you say that the dance helps us shift our bodies to rewire our brain, what does it do? How do we feel changed afterwards?
It's incredible, Andrew. I could get into looking at this from many angles, but let me just try to concisely give you the short and sweet. We move our body in a fun way, not in a way that's uncomfortable for us. We get into what we call flow time, which Michele Csikszentmihalyi, it's the hardest last name in the world, wrote about in the book Flow years ago. I think he's an MAT guy. But when you're doing something and it actually is something you enjoy, you get into flow time. So if you're working with clay and you love it, or you love badminton, or my husband loves cricket, or I love jigsaw puzzling, like hours go by and you don't even notice. So we actually try to reach flow time. And I do that by playing the best music of any dance teacher I've ever studied with. I'm obsessed with I've been curating music for 20 some years. So I play Motown and we play world music and we play hip hop and we play classical, and it goes on and on. So we've got this curated, fantastic music. The body cannot not dance, right? The body cannot not dance. So my joke is it's hard to do this and be depressed at the same time.
And why is that, do you think?
What's that?
Why is that, do you think?
Well, I mean, of course, I'm sure there are people who can move and still, feel gloomy and depressed. But I think that great release of just, letting things go, you feel good. You tend to actually look good while you're doing it. I mean, which is why sometimes in stronger religions, you weren't allowed to dance, because the idea was that it can look so very beautiful and it could be whatever, arousing and so on and so forth. But there's a freedom in getting out of here. And I think a lot of us live from the neck up or the head to the neck, which is great. It's great to be a thinker. It's great to read books. But there's a great freedom in moving the body and in letting things go. I mean, you're literally letting your weight go. And we all have certain ways that we do move and want to move and need to move. And it's my job to inspire those ways. So there's no steps to follow, although I do teach a series of stretches and I do teach a series of meditations that we're going to use after the workshop. It's just that feeling of being in the body. There's nothing like it. If someone loves sports, they know exactly what I mean. If somebody loves Tai Chi, Qigong, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So as a psychotherapist, you come from a very intellectual background, you could say. How did you come across this practice of dancing into bliss, which sounds wonderful?
Yeah, it is. It is wonderful. Well, first of all, I want to make sure people know it's not all fluff. I've had people come to my workshops who have had recent deaths, recent extreme grief in their lives, divorce and so forth. And if they can get just a little bit out of their heads and into that bliss, I'm grateful. But I certainly never want to sound like too saccharine, like it's all bliss. I got into it because I'd always studied dance. I was never a really good dancer. Didn't matter. I loved it. And I was in social work school and I got really depressed because we were learning so many theories. I can't even tell you, the school was really academic. And it was theory upon theory. And it was at that time that I had stopped dancing for several years. I'd been an aerobics teacher. I'd always had dance. And I was also grieving the loss of my father. And so I started to put myself into these almost trances where I would, and I don't mean that in like a hipster cool druggy way, but just trances of movement and sweating, and would then kind of come back to my education and also come back to working with gifted therapists. And I realized this has to happen. So I was 29 and working in a psychiatric hospital on an eating disorders floor, and they got rid of their movement therapist to save money. And they said, Rachel, you do all that new age woo-woo stuff, because that's how we talk in Philly. You do all that new age woo-woo stuff. Lead the group into some movements. And I grabbed some CDs, and I thought, well, I'd been an aerobics teacher for years, and I'd helped my father teach fitness classes. And so right off the cuff, which is I think how the best teachers roll, I started to, in the psych hospital, work with these incredibly disembodied women of all ages and help them get out of their heads and into their bodies for just an hour of freedom, which was profound. And I continued to use the movement for myself as well. And I was really supported by an incredible community. I don't need to give the whole shtick, but it saved my life. I think, my wellness and my creativity really started to blossom. And through that, dancing, I write and I make art. And I think that is one of the newer parts of Dancer Bliss, maybe in the last 5 years that's birthed. And it's great because as I get older, I can't hold the dance for hours and hours each day. I can't do it. So I love that we're cycling through movement, drawing. People are leaving with poetry. People are leaving with prayers. So it's become a spiritual practice for me. I mean, atheists, you're welcome to come to. Shy people, you're my people. I really do well with people who say, I'm not a dancer, I'll never be a dancer, but I'm going through something and I just want to feel better, Yeah.
In our culture, there's a lot of concern about self-image, about making a fool of ourselves. How do you respond to someone that might be anxious about getting up and dancing? That's a frightening thing for some people.
It's terrifying. And I live in a city, I always joke that in San Francisco, we're just like everybody else. We're just like everywhere else. We just do everything upside down, on fire, and naked. And now I would add upside down, on fire, naked, eating kale, and looking really skinny. So I see it all around me. Luckily, I don't have that I have a strange wiring where I have embarrassment about so many things, but not about that. So I always joke that I'll make the biggest fool of myself in how I move and how I am and be in my vulnerability. I think because I create such a safe environment, and I'm very proud of that. I'm extremely proud of how safe I make it. I've learned from some of the finest teachers how to make safety. And I've learned from some of the finest teachers when they didn't create safety, how painful that was for me in feeling apart and feeling different and feeling like the other and so on. So with all of these great teachers conjoined and my own heart, which is full of vulnerability and honesty, I say to people, let yourself go. It's pretty incredible. There is no movement that looks stupid. No one has ever been laughed at, will be laughed at. I've never seen anyone run away and say to me, I felt so stupid. That's me. That's where I come in. I have lived a life a little bit like Larry David, I suppose, the fellow on TV who's always finding himself. It's a stupid cultural reference because I'm much cuter than he is. But he was the writer of Seinfeld, and he has this Jewish persona of always finding himself in very awkward positions, but he's also tremendously narcissistic. I have some of that, and I tell great stories about my own flaws and my own shortcomings and my own embarrassments and how they have been such grist for the mill. So we add vulnerability, which is such a beautiful spice that you can add to one's life. We use meditation, I should have mentioned that, in each session, so that by the time we hit the dance floor, there isn't even room to feel silly. Yes, playful, but there isn't room for that embarrassment. And by the way, I'm very upset about this in the world, this imageness. Mm. I've been upset about it since I was a very little girl, and there was a commercial in the 70s maybe with Andre Agassi, who's finally come out, that he suffered tremendously, where he puts on these sunglasses and he's so pretty with the mullet and so on, and he says, image is everything. Huh. And I remember discussing that with a therapist and going, God, I hate this world. It doesn't make sense to me sometimes as a vulnerable person. And, the sad irony is he was, as such an honest man, he's come out with his autobiography saying, I was wearing hair taped to my head and I was struggling so much. Image isn't everything. It's just the outside.
Beautiful. And have you had any experience of people that came through maybe nervous to start with, and what kind of transformation have you seen?
So 2 or 3 summers ago, I've been teaching at a wonderful retreat center on the East Coast, the Omega Institute, for 16 years. A very beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. And one year we had a Veterans Week where there's scholarships, and many veterans were taking workshops around PTSD and trauma and so on. And so suddenly I had a lot of men in my classes, which is never a bad thing. And there was one fellow middle-aged white guy, who I kept thinking, he's really hating my classes. He's just got not very much emotion, and he's kind of not moving very much, but moving stiffly. And I did what all teachers do and all, humans with any insecurity, which is it's about me, it's about me. And at the end of the week, he came to me weeping and said, this has been the most opening. I've never danced, he said to me. I've never, this isn't me. I'm a tough guy, I'm tough. And I had more of an opening here this week than I could imagine. And I didn't get his name, and I didn't, and we just hugged, and I felt, it's a little delicate for me to say that to you, because I'm not one who has hubris. He did it. I didn't do anything. I created the space, but he did that. And it broke my heart wide open. This summer, I had a man call me a few days before my workshop saying that he has an unusual neurological makeup, different perhaps than being on the spectrum with Asperger's, but maybe a cousin of that, where he does not know how to be in an emotional self, if you will. I'm not really saying it well. And he absolutely knew that he needed the workshop, but would he feel uncomfortable? He was sure he'd feel uncomfortable. Anyway, he came to the workshop, and because of the safe space, he found a way to connect emotions to the body. He was also adorable, and everyone in the workshop was really, happy to have him there. And that never hurts, to feel that love. I have many stories also of women of size, like big girls, big gals coming in and saying, I felt radiant. I felt beautiful. I've had women and men who've had amputees, people who have not got arms or not got legs, yeah, and moving their body. And, nobody stares. We look at people with just incredible honoring and awe, and we all move together. I could go on and on, but people can email me if they want the stories. They can take the workshop if they want to.
So it sounds like a beautiful, very safe space where everyone is welcome. Anyone can participate. And if you're doubting or concerned about whether it's for you, it probably would be a wonderful experience.
It is. And there's so much more than dance because, we're all ages and we're not going to dance for 8 hours a day. We're going to use meditation. I'm a storyteller. You're going to get some stories. You're actually going to get really good Jewish jokes. There's a lot of self-soothing. There's a lot of body psychology. I get a lot of therapists and teachers in my workshops, and I think they are immediately using, they email me that they're immediately using some of these techniques with difficult students, with clients. So we're going to learn about embodiment, how to be an embodied person.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And speaking of coming back into the body, would you like to lead us through an experience before we wind up?
Sure. So we hold a lot of tension. Everybody just sit up. We hold a lot of tension in all sorts of places. And if you've ever seen an animal come out of a difficult moment, apparently they do a bit of a shaking. We don't, as people, we kind of hold on to things. So I'm going to exaggerate that, and I'm going to make my hands into fists, and I'm going to, make my face into all kinds of crevices. And I'm just going to hold my tension. I'm going to ask everyone, thank you, Andrew, you're doing it too. And hold it, lock it, hold your toesies, everything, and lock it. And if you're into yoga, lock up all your locks and hold it for 5, even tighter, 4, 3, 2, let it go. Stretch it out, stretch your feet out, stretch, reach the hands up, reach like a kitty cat, reach. We're going to do this one more time. Reach, beautiful. Big breath, let it out. And bring it all in, tight, even tighter. And take a moment and just feel that tightness. Notice your body temperature change. Notice that tightness. Feel it. Even tighter, because in a moment, 5, 4, 3, 2, let it go. This time, shake it out, and we're going to do a scalp crawl together. I believe this keeps my hair thick and lustrous because I am a little vain, even though I'm real and whatnot. And I do this to my cat, and if my husband lets me, I do this to him. And just let that go, and then give a little tap. All this stuff is cool because if you do this on the bus, nobody will take the seat next to you. Nobody takes the bus anymore, but sure, you'll get the seat all to yourself next to you. And then take your hands and just stretch them out and have a great big yawn. And Andrew, I'm really grateful to hang out with you today, and I'm really grateful to share my work at Art of Living. And I hope and pray that if anyone's on the fence, and I hope this is your policy, they can email me. They can ask me any question about the workshop. They can call me. I'll sit on the phone with them for as long as they need. And if it's not the right flavor, I'll actually tell them. Usually if they're at that point of being interested, it is the right flavor. But you've also got so many great teachers at Art of Living. So I wish love and joy to all of your students and all of your teachers.
That is one sign I find of a remarkable teacher, or someone who stands by what they teach, is that they will tell you if they think it's not the right thing. It's very refreshing and beautiful and honest. So you will find Rachel's number or email in the comments section or on the web page. There's a link in the comments to the event page, and on the event page, you can find the contact details to learn more and get in touch and get all your questions answered and come for this amazing experience.
And it also sounds like Art of Living is a beautiful retreat in the moments that we're not in workshops. So I am grateful for that. And again, you have some great teachers coming up. So I wish I could take a lot of workshops too. Andrew, thank you for making the time. I've been speaking a little fast because I was a little nervous. So I hope that as everyone comes off of this beautiful call, we'll all take a few deep breaths. Let's do that together, actually. Just 1, 2, 3 deep breaths. 1. And let it out. And And 2 deep into the belly. Hold. And let it out. 3, third breath, biggest and best. Yeah, I could feel myself a little amped up because I love talking about this, but as any human, I get nervous. So take those deep breaths, people. Take care.
Thank you, Rachel.